The attacks in Brussels have really transformed the presidential campaign. We've been through this before. After the massacre in Paris, after the mass killing in San Bernardino, suddenly terror dominates the news coverage and is at the top of the campaign dialogue. In the past, that has helped Donald Trump. Right now, I'm wondering, for all the tough talk, and of course it's required if you're a presidential candidate that you have to talk tough after some horrible travesty, some tragedy like what happened in Belgium at the airport and at the subway station, but how much of that is realistic? Now, of course, there's been a lot of criticism of President Obama for not cutting short his Cuba trip, for going to a baseball game. It seems that the president always gets that when something goes wrong and he doesn't want to interrupt his schedule. I was struck by the way President Obama, while giving prepared remarks in Cuba, devoted about 50 seconds, about 6 sentences as I counted it, to what had happened in Belgium, and then pivoted back to his original speech. I thought that reminded me of what happened after the Paris attacks, where by his own admission later, he felt that he had been a little tone deaf in his initial response. So Donald Trump gets helped, I think, because he has been talking for months about bomb the S out of ISIS and take its oil, and of course his proposal on immigration, temporarily ban Muslims from coming in. But how much of that would be effective, and whether or not he has the policy specifics to back it up, is open to question. Now, Ted Cruz has ramped up his rhetoric on this in the wake of the attacks, and he has taken a lot of flack by talking about law enforcement should be sent into predominantly Muslim neighborhoods to secure those neighborhoods before they become radicalized. That sounds to many people like a focus on one religion. At the same time, some people think, it's politically incorrect to talk about that, but that it's what we need. Again, this is, by the way, an attack that took place overseas, and yet naturally the focus of the U.S. media attention has been on, could it happen here? What could we do to make it less likely that it might happen here? Hillary Clinton gave a speech yesterday designed to talk about counterterrorism. She did it in a very low-key manner, which I think was appropriate for the subject matter. And she talked about things like stepping up our encryption efforts and working more closely with our allies and trying to make airports, which are traditionally considered soft targets, into hard targets. All fine. It doesn't sound dramatic, but, it's not like anybody in politics has the ability to wave a wand and make this problem go away. It is a complicated and multifaceted problem. And Hillary Clinton, of course, has the disadvantage on this, unless she has the experience as Secretary of State. People can say, well, what did you do about it? You negotiated the nuclear deal with Iran. What about Libya? What about Syria? And she has to answer for that, and she can't get too far away from President Obama. So the sum total is maybe a good media debate is unfolding here in the wake of the Brussels attacks, but too much of it seems to me, and I've said this before after other attacks, too much of it seems to be based on ideological debate and finger pointing. What we need is a good plan. But meanwhile, you'll recall that there was a year ago that President Obama asked Congress for military authorization to go after ISIS. There has never been a vote on that.